What's up, you guys? Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. This video is going to be for the watch list of 717 to 721. Zeus is going to talk about the sectors. I'll finish out the sectors, talk about my watch list, and he'll end the video with his watch list. So remember, drop a like down this video, hit that subscribe button, make sure you ring that bell as well. If you want to be a part of Zeus's Patreon community, the link is going to be in the down below in the description of this video. So without further ado, Zeus, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Alrighty, so this week with XLC, watching calls above 67.84 and puts below 67.03, overall targeting to fill this daily fair value gap up to 69.35 if the call does trigger. We do have a good bit of price targets to the downside going into this week. So overall, if we do get that put trigger below 67.03, we'll be targeting that 66.36 level, and then the gap fill at 66.01. And then going into XLY. So with XLY, we've had a lot of continuation lately since we've broken out of this downtrend line. It still looks like we have more liquidity to grab potentially. So I am watching calls over 175.69 overall to target this 178.09 level. And my apologies, I think I said 169, but 175.69. And then from there, watching puts below 174.15 overall to target this gap fill. Actually, I do think we target the gap fill if we do get some aggressive price action to the downside this week on ES and NQs. So the gap fill does get completed at 171.31. And then from there, watching XLP. So with XLP, watching calls above 74.41 overall to target that 74.75 level. And then from there, overall to see if we can get that push up to that 75.58 level. And if we don't trigger to the call side, then we also have a put trigger as well below 73.83. Overall to target that 73.11 level. And then from there to 72.24. And as well, XLE, I do like a lot. We did manage to break out of this higher time frame downtrend line. As well, we did currently get that gap fill completed on a daily. It looks a lot better on the 4-hour here. So I am actually more so interested to the long side going into this week on oil. So we do have a put trigger. Not really interested, but if puts do trigger, the put trigger is 81.25 overall to target that's 78.49 level. But like I said, I am kind of biased long for this, so we'll look for calls above 83.11 overall to target that 84.45 level, and then from there up to 86.97. And then you want to take over the rest of the sectors, brother?
Yeah. All right. I'm on XLF here. We have a nice, pretty much, I want to call it a fat shooter here. The huge thing to take a look at is calls above 34.74, puts below 33.57. Your put target would be 33.25. The call target would be all the way up here at this BJ level of 35.91. We do have a small TTM squeeze here, so we could see that here on the weekly time frame. If we dive down and take a look at the daily time frame, yeah, the huge thing that I think we're going to see here is we could see this gap fill complete, and maybe we might get a bounce, or we could come down here and fill out this volume imbalance below. Let me highlight that out. And this volume imbalance all the way down here. I have to expand this out. Or we could come down here, bounce here, and then come upwards. So overall for XLF, the huge thing to take a look at is how we're going to react. We could also stay inside on the week as well and then roll over and take our put trigger here. We do have earnings coming up as well, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But XLV, this is one sector that I have my eyes on, and it's pretty much comprised of most of my watch list for the week. Call me a boomer, but when I see this kind of setup on the 3-month, you have a double inside setup. You can see here we got buyers that stepped in each of these times. We came down, pretty much tested this level of liquidity. I'm betting to the upside on this one. So if we take a look here at the weekly time frame, we have where's my strat indicator? I believe this is an inside bar. Yeah, this is an inside bar here on the week. So we have a 2 down inside bar that is nice, healthy. We fully retraced coming back up here. So calls above 131.70. Ultimately, you really want to target probably all the way up here at 134.71. If we get above this point here at 135.25, you're going to have a nice break because we've not been able to close above this level for a while. Ultimately, if we really want to get crazy here, we could look at 140.06 for XLV on the week. Daily wise, we take a look at it, we see a nice gap up here. And the huge reason why this happened was UNH reported earnings and it was really good. So really intermediate price target is going to be 133.04 for XLV to the upside. To the downside, if we want to entertain this, you can, if you want, talk about puts, but 129 flat is going to be your put trigger, and then you're going to be wanting to see a sweep down here of 126.39 followed by 125.53 would be that ultimate level. But when you really zoom out here and take a look on the weekly, you got your lower low here. Yeah, you got your lower low, higher low, higher low, higher low. What are we going to do here? This is starting to seem really bullish for me. You can probably draw a nice trend line here as well and take a look at it and grab these two levels and just see that we have held this trend line. We can even get more aggressive if we want with this. Probably drop it here, and you can just see that we've come down pretty much almost to this trend line and bounced up. So we might come back and test it again. Who knows? But let's take a look at XLI on the week. XLI is absolutely just on a tear. I believe XLI, yeah, we are at all-time highs here on XLI. So really, there's nothing to look at here. This was pretty much obvious if you saw this. This is an inducement model from not the strat, from ICT. Come down, you got your higher low here, then here you create a lower low, sweep your level of liquidity, and then up you go to all-time highs. Absolutely beautiful. So let's take a look here. For the week, 109.88 is going to be your call trigger to Valhalla. 106.22 is going to be your put trigger. You can play that down, and really you would want to come all the way down here to 96.14 and maybe sweep this level and reverse back up. Or if we sweep this level, it might be coming down and ultimately falling off of a cliff. We do have a little TTM squeeze. We have a good amount of buyers and sellers. It seems pretty even over the past couple of weeks. So that's overall for XLI. XLB, your material sector. Don't short materials right now. Not financial advice, but materials is looking very nice. So 83.26 is going to be your call trigger, followed by 85.11 is going to be that ultimate target for the week. We could see a movement all the way up here if we want to get crazy with things of 88.94, followed by the, I believe, all-time high here of 89.40. We zoom out here, take a look at the monthly. Yeah, that's going to be our all-time highs. This is almost looking like a little bit of a diamond top, depending on how you want to take a look at it. We need to make a higher high over here to really form that full out diamond. But if we want to talk about puts for the week, 88.59 is going to be your trigger. You want to look at 79.31. And if we really want to get frisky with things and get into a longer term swing, you can look at 74.35. The huge thing that I want to point out here is you do have a nice squeeze going on with the TTM. If you're not familiar with the TTM, it's basically looking at divergence and convergence within the MACD and RSI, Bollinger Bands, and several other technical indicators. So we do have a squeeze here to the upside, so I would be leaning more bullish. Also taking a look at this as well. You swept a level of liquidity, grabbed it here off of this nice volume imbalance. We're moving back to the highs, and we're going to probably be stopping out all these people up here on XLB. XLRE, your real estate ETF. Real estate has been looking good. I've heard good things on the news, so I'm assuming the market's moving in the right direction. Got your nice trend line here. You got your low come down, You got your sell model basically here on your ICT, bounce, you make a higher low, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go grab buy side liquidity, which is right here, 41.51 on the week. Above, let's say 38.87 is going to be your call trigger to target that 41.51 level. With how slow this has been moving, it might be a multi-week swing. If you want to play puts here, I personally would not consider puts at all, given the TTM, also volume, and how this is moving. 37.60 is going to be your put trigger. Ultimately, I would want to look for the retest of 34.71 or see if we might get a bounce here at this uptrend line. Taking a look at XLK. Oh, tech. Everyone loves tech. All right, so 178.07 is going to be your call trigger to basically Valhalla. There's not really anything else to take a look at. 169.94 is going to be that put trigger, and really you want to come down here. These relative equal lows on these two candles is something that I would want to really take a look at, given the fact that you have them. Maybe we sweep them and reverse back higher. So 162.74 is going to be that target to take a look at. Daily, we have a hammer and then we have a shooter here. So we are seeing a little bit of selling pressure step in here or exhaustion within the market. I mean, I don't blame it given the fact of how far it has run, to say the least, and how many gaps we also have here as well. So taking a look at XLU, our final sector for this XLU, nice candle here. We had a nice doji here. You have a TTM squeeze as well, moving towards the upside. And the huge thing to take a look at here is we swept this level of liquidity down here. So what are we going to do? We're going to probably push up here and take out these levels up here. So 67.14 is going to be your overall call trigger. You really want to see us grab 68.84, followed by really up here of 69.72 for the week. You do see a nice amount of buyers stepping in as well, so that makes sense that we're playing up. You got the TTM, you got buyers volume stepping in, you got the liquidity sweep. We should be only looking to the upside. If we want to look to the downside, 64.59 is going to be your trigger. If you break this, really you're going to be wanting to look down here at 63.42 with these relative equal lows. We also have these wicks down here as well that we can talk about, which is down at 62.66. So that's it for XLU. Really, overall, when I take a look at it, the market does tend to be looking like it's rotating towards a defensive stance, which is the whole reason why my watch list is defensive. Now, AbbVie is one of the stocks that I'm going to be watching because what did it do? It bounced off of a broadening formation here. And what did it do? It grabbed liquidity here. We got a nice big fat gap here to the upside, and that's the huge thing that I'm going to be targeting. This is going to be a really long-term swing for me. The huge thing that's going to tell me that this is in play this week is going to be really breaking above this level here of 138.14. We haven't been able to close above it. We got a nice healthy gap up here with the earnings of UNH, which helped us on the daily. We have that TTM squeeze. We can see the buyers volume stepping in, and we have plenty of targets and plenty of people that we got to stop out on the way up here. If we take a look at it from a weekly standpoint, the weekly looks really good. We finished inside on the week, which is exactly what I wanted it to do, because we had this hammer here. We got the 2 down, swept the level of liquidity, created relative equal lows. Then we came up here, triggered up on the week, came back and retraced down here a little bit. So we're looking good. We see buyers stepped in as well, covering over the wick from last week. And if we want to take a look at a longer time frame here, you can really just see this taking form. You got a nice push down. This was an outside bar, I believe. Yep, outside bar, 3-1-2, see you later on the quarter. I'm buying November calls personally. I'm not going to look at this. This is going to get put in my set it and forget it portfolio. Let's switch over here to UNH. We'll talk about gold next. UNH on the weekly. We have a nice trend line here that let's readjust this a little bit. we have a nice trend line here that we came up pretty much closed right at. We wicked above it. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this gap down here first, to see if we're going to take this gap and we're going to either fill 50% of it, bounce up and break out, or if we're just going to break out and keep on going. We did sweep a level of liquidity down here, and you can see we have swept this level multiple times across the daily time frame. So we should be moving up, but I wouldn't be surprised to see if there's a retracement down, just to see if buyers step into any form of sell demand. On the weekly time frame, got that TTM squeeze, a massive green candle here on the weekly time frame. So we got that 3-bar strat. People are going to be looking for that 3-2 continuation. Calls above 485 flat, you're going to be targeting 492.64. If you want to play puts here, let's be the devil's advocate, 447.18 to sweep the level down here of 443.86. To me, this just screams like it's going to go up. It's just a question of when. So if anything, watch this gap, maybe send an alert for 50% of the gap and see if it touches it, or send an alert up here of this high and get in as well to follow this gap fill, along with several other volume imbalances on the way up. Now, I'm going to talk about this one, and everyone's going to roll their eyes at me on this one, but GDX is actually lagging gold if you actually take a look at it from a future standpoint and from the actual ETF standpoint. GDX is lagging here. So on the daily time frame, on Thursday, when we got, no, not when, Thursday, on Wednesday, when I believe we got CPI, we saw a nice fat gap up here with volume. And now Zeus will tell you this a million times over. There's not retail traders that can push this up. It's institutional traders that are going to push this up and create these forms of gaps, because we don't have that level of money, to say the least. But the huge thing I want to see is this reversal back down here, and if we hit this gap and if we bounce or not. On the weekly time frame, you take a look at this, we're approaching a downtrend line as well here from this candle. So we can approach this. We have as well created, let me adjust that. Created a nice wedge here that we've come in and we've seen a nice buy-in. So we're basically compressing here. We see the TTM as well is squeezing on the weekly, but we take a look at more at the 3-month. The huge thing that I want to highlight here is the fact we've swept equal lows here and created relative equal lows. So we should be hopefully testing $35. This is going to be more of a longer term swing for me. But let's hop back here to the weekly and talk about our targets here. So calls above 32.40, you're ultimately going to want to sweep this level of 34.17. Puts are going to be below 29.26, and then you're going to want to sweep these relative equal lows of 28.76. Last one on my watch list before I hand it back over to Zeus, oh, I got to delete all these lines, is going to be BA. I am a boomer this week, and I understand that people are going to roll their eyes at this. We have a nice doji here on the week. We also have a very high TTM. If you're not familiar with that TTM, you have black dots, which are low squeeze, red dots, medium squeeze, orange dots are your high squeeze. So we are seeing this level of compression here. We did create relative equal lows here as well. We created a shooter on the week, so 221.56 is going to be our call trigger for really 229.67 is going to be the level to look at, and I believe that is also 2 up on the year as well. If we wanted to play puts, 211.22 is going to be that level to take a look at, and then we want to take that called put trigger all the way down to 255. But that's my watch list for the week, so I'm going to hand it back over to Zeus.
Time frame, we have this daily volume imbalance, gap fill, whatever you want to call it. Same concept though. We tested this gap fill over on May 31st. As you see, we ended up holding it. We tested it again June 29th. We ended up holding it again. So kind of what I'm seeing now is we potentially might get that push back down, could potentially sweep this liquidity completely, and ultimately test this volume imbalance again this week. But overall, if we do test this level, it's a buy. No question about it. It's worth the risk reward. Overall, we'll be targeting first and foremost the 94.52 level, and then from there up to this gap fill. So we'll be looking for a lot of time on these contracts. Actually looking to hold us long past earnings. So ultimately, if we do get this test into this 87 range this week, basically 88 range, the lower side of 88, definitely looking to buy Disney. Realistically, we'll be looking for next year 100 calls. Next is Amazon. So with Amazon here, we have that hammer shooter combo. But if we get onto the lower time frame, we also have that inside bar on the 195, I want to say. Yep. So kind of going to watch this, and the reason why is because we did end up getting that gap fill. What's going on with my data? Okay, cool. So we did end up getting this gap fill back from September of 2022.
Looks like we
And
whipped that
notice,
level as well.
yep. Ooh. So if we go back here, we perfectly did wick that level. So I ideally want to get it on the lower time frame to get the best risk to reward. If we do get continuation, looking for calls over 135.99. Overall to target that 138 level. There's also another gap fill to the upside. But if we do get the downside, I will look to take puts below 134.43 and overall to target that 132.71 level. And then from there, potentially 50% of this gap, which would be that 131.81 level. And then as well, Zom. So Zom, don't really ask me why I think it's gonna bounce, but it's gonna bounce. Just watch. If you look at XLE as well, we kind of have that what's that thing? We have that volume imbalance. We also just fill that gap. So kind of am looking for buyers to step in on XLE. So instead of actually trading XLE, we're just going to go trade a specific ticker within the sector. And personally, I do like the way Zom moves, and it moves very aggressive. And as if you can see here, every single time we're trading in this range, it goes from this 101 level, ultimately straight to 107. As you can see, literally every single time we're in this range. So that's going to be the top watch for this week, watching calls over 101.40. Not really interested in the puts at all, but if puts do trigger, there is a put trigger at 153. Overall, you do have some downside targets. First price target is 105, and then next price target is 97.19. That's more so of a weekly target. But I am more so interested in Zom for the upside. And that's the watch list. So Zom, Disney, and Amazon.